All right, let's get around to finishing this top water popper that I was working on a while ago. We're going to put a skirt on this thing. We're going to start by wrapping some black fly tying thread around a few times. Just a couple times. We don't need a ton on there. Just let that hang down. Trim this off right there. Perfect. And I have decided to use this color of a tail. I don't know how far out I want this to stick, as I have a hard time handling this stuff. Now, I do like to keep, you can see it better back here, I do like to keep the cable tie on it when I'm working with this stuff, as it can get out of control quite easy. I am by no means a professional at doing this. I like to have it stick out a little bit further than the hook. So I'm going to hold that right about there, and then I'm going to give this just a couple really casual wraps. I'm going to let that hang, and then I'm going to slowly try to work this completely around the lure, checking to make sure that it is in all the way around. That way I can get a nice full skirt on this. Let's see if that's all the way around. I need to get a little bit more down here. Wrap a little bit more around. I always like to, I'm kind of picky about how even this ends up, and that's actually pretty even. At least even enough for me. So we're going to wrap this fairly tight. And you can see it's starting to flare out a little bit. Let's double check. That's pretty good. I like to have a little bit more out past the hook than I normally might have, because then that way I can trim it. But we're just going to keep wrapping it and wrapping it. There we go. Oh, that just broke off. That is not good that that broke off. But that's okay. It happens. Sometimes I have a tendency to pull on this too tight. Now, I'm really horrible at using the whip finishing tool anyway. So what I'm gonna do is, this is tangled. I try to get, there we go. We're gonna get some of this slack out of here. And, whoops, I bumped the camera. And I'm gonna whip finish this by hand, because that's just the way I know how to do it best. There's one. Sorry if you can't see too well. And this is a little bit harder to whip finish by hand because I don't have enough slack that I want. So I'm only going to give it 2 whips, because we're going to be putting some UV resin on, and it broke off. That's okay, I was going to cut it anyway. This is the kind of stuff that happens. So now that I've got that on there, I'm going to put a little UV resin on the top. Hold this steady. This bottle might be empty. I'm going to get it all the way around. Try to get it all the way around anyway. At least part of the way. I think my batteries are a little weak. That should hold it. I'm going to pop it out of the thing. Looks like I didn't do too bad of a job getting it all the way, getting the skirt all the way around. Let's make sure you can see that in the camera. I'm gonna put a little bit more UV resin in there. Just a little bit, there we go. I need new batteries. That should be good enough to hold it on, I hope. Once this stuff dries, it dries really well. Okay, now I'm going to get a bigger pair of scissors and I'm going to slowly cut off this front part right here. All right, so I was going to have some of the skirt facing forward, like on a spinner, but I changed my mind. So we're just going to carefully cut around this, and then I'm going to go in with my smaller scissors and trim closer to where I put the tail. See there? And that's why I like to keep that cable tie on there, because now I can just set this aside and I don't have to worry about it. So let's trim this a little bit more. I don't grab all of the tail and cut it at once. I cut a little bit off at a time, especially when I make my initial cut, because I guarantee you, you're going to cut it crooked and you'll end up with a funny shaped piece. I might wrap a little bit more fly tying thread on this, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. I don't know. I do this as I go along. I don't make any plans or draw any sketches or think about it too much or anything like that. I just I'm the kind of person that just has to start doing something, and whatever it turns out to be, it's what it turns out to be. And speaking of things turning out to be, that's not too bad. I think I want some UV resin on the end of that. Or maybe even I'll wrap some more string. I'm not sure. It's actually on there pretty good. Let's see if I can trim a little bit more of this off. I'm going to trim this off camera just to keep the video a little bit shorter. Let's use red eyeballs. I think red eyeballs would look pretty good on there. These just stick on, but usually what I do is I'll put a little bit of glue on them. Sorry if I'm not in the camera. It's a little hard to, there we go. A little hard to do this on my own. Hey, that's kind of cool. I usually just stick them on, and then I'll put some, again, with the UV resin. I'm a big fan of UV resin. Whoops. It's hard for me to push these things around and get them in the right place. There we go. There's one eyeball. All right, we're all finished. I got the eyes put on it. Glued on nice. Was taking a look at the skirt. The skirt's nice and full. It's even around, all the way around. That's one of the things that I look for very carefully and kind of picky about when I do one of these lures. I like to make sure that the tail is nice and full. It just needs some hooks and